Hi there everyone, welcome again to Indian Story Read Along. Today's story is an Akbar and Birbal story. For those of you who don't know, Akbar was a king way back in like the 1500s, 1600s, way back then. And he was a Muslim king that after the Muslim invasions from the Middle East into the Indian subcontinent, there were a whole bunch of Muslim kings who set up places all over India, and those were their kingdoms. And so there were Hindu kings still, but there were also Muslim kings at this point. Akbar was known as a great king. I don't know if he was a great guy, but he was a legendary king. And part of this was because he had a really, really good advisor named Birbal, who was Hindu. And he respected him. Akbar respected Birbal a lot because of his wisdom, because he was always on the side of justice, and also because he was always right. And he found funny ways to show how certain things were true and certain things were false. And so a lot of Akbar's courtiers, his different people in the court, all of his advisors, they didn't like Birbal because Birbal was not only smart, he was really funny. And he showed how he proved his point in so many funny and different ways and smart ways. So this story is called The Corrupt Official. One morning in Emperor Akbar's court, so the guards bring in this guy and they say, this man has been found guilty of accepting bribes, Jahanpana. And Jahanpana is a respectful term that they called the king, like Your Majesty or Your Highness. Akbar asks, what was he in charge of? The granaries, Jahanpana, meaning all the silos where they keep the grains in the kingdom. And Akbar says, keep him in custody. We will try him later. That means they're going to give him a fair trial. They're going to hear his side of the story. And so after the guy leaves, the thing about Akbar is that he always had these thoughts and he had these questions, and Birbal always showed him the right answer. He didn't tell him the right answer because he wanted to prove it to everybody in a very public way. So Akbar says, Birbal, I have often wondered if, do you think it's a man's occupation that makes him corrupt? Meaning like people in certain jobs, are they the ones who just become corrupt? And then Birbal says, I don't think so, Jahanpana. He says, a corrupt person, no matter what his occupation, will always find a way of inviting bribes. So then there's another courtier there, and sometimes these guys just disagreed with Birbal just for the sake of disagreeing because they wanted to be like, no, I'm not going to let this guy be the smartest one in the class all the time. I'm going to also get my words in there. So this guy in the blue turban and the blue clothes says, I beg to differ, Jahanpana, means I disagree. I can think of 100 jobs where there's no chance for a person to take bribes. And then Birbal's like, look, buddy, can you just name one? And he's gonna show him. So this guy, as usual, it was one of Birbal's adversaries. I don't know if we learn his name in this one. There's a bunch of guys who didn't like Birbal. And so this blue clothes guy is saying, why yes, ask the man you've just arrested to sit on the banks of the Jamuna and count the ripples on the water. What? Not really sure what this is going to do. He says, I'm sure this is a job where bribery is out of the question. Ah, okay. So he's trying to prove that the job makes you corrupt. The person himself is not corrupt. Birbal believes that the person is corrupt. The job does not make you corrupt. So then Birbal says, I would be most happy if a corrupt official could be reformed, but I don't think even this scheme will help. Birbal believes that it is who you are. It is your character. It's not the thing that you're doing. So then this guy is desperate to prove his point, and he says, it will. You just watch. So accordingly, the corrupt man was instructed on his new duties. A week later, Birbal, says the king, Akbar, there are no reports about our corrupt official. Then blue clothes guy says, what did I tell you? Birbal says, well, I suggest we go and take a look at him. And then Akbar says, okay, let us go then. Birbal says, we'll go tomorrow morning disguised as fishermen. So then the three of them, I believe it is Birbal, the blue clothes guy, and Akbar, the next morning they set out on the ship. And so they're rowing. There's our man. He spots him. The guy sitting on the banks of the Yamuna counting the ripples. And this guy's like, what? What's going on there? They spot each other. He says to the people on the boat, hey you, what do you think you're doing? And then they're just like, we're just rowing. The corrupt official says, don't you know the emperor has asked me to keep a count of the ripples on the water? And so they say, yes, so what? So you have distracted me. Sounds like my kids. They're blaming each other. You distracted me. Your names will be reported. Do you know what punishment awaits you? Okay. You will be put behind bars for a year. None of this is true. He's just threatening them. And for what purpose? Let's see. So they're on the boat and they're like, for a year? Please, don't report our names. They're pretending to be scared because they just want to show. Where's this going to go? So they're asking, please, please, we beg of you. And look at that guy's smirk. Look at that guy's smile. He's just like he's got them right where he wants them. And finally he says, I won't if what? If you do me a small favor. What is it? Tell us. Feel like making bribes. And they're like, yes, please do. And then, so what's he gonna say? Give me 100 gold coins. Asking for a bribe. Look, we're poor fishermen, one of them says. Why don't we settle for 50? And then, you see this big fisherman who is actually Akbar in disguise goes, no, he will get 100. 100 lashes. Takes off his disguise. Oh, Jahan Pana! Later, after the man had been arrested, Akbar says to Birbal, you were right, Birbal, there's no corruption, there's no occupation where a corrupt man can't make money. And he says to Blue Clothes Guy, he had to teach him the hard way. Birbal says, are you convinced now? Of course, Blue Clothes Guy's thinking, why does he always have to be right? But that was Birbal. I love this story. Oh, he'll get 100. 100 lashes. That's the best part. Okay, so if you like stories like this, I have lots of stories in this one book alone. It's one of those bumper issues of Birbal and Akbar, and it is called More Tales of Birbal. So there's a lot of stories from here. I have another book of Birbal as well. I'm gonna read them all slowly to you guys. If you want to come back, then think about subscribing to this channel, and we will see you again soon on Indian Story Read Along. Bye for now.